further ado, calling the field stands.
Hey everyone, hope everyone had a great hump day. And we're back again to expose the most scary, delusional person out there, Christopher Mitchell. We're exposing my cyber stalker, cyber terrorist, Todd Witteles, even more, and his poker fraud, and the ingrateful Lee Bradbury, okay? Now, as we can see here, Christopher Mitchell on March 1st, which was yesterday, on his video, somebody commented, "Dude, I thought you were going to Macau. Post live video from there, please." And he goes, "That was a joke to throw off my dead broke, jealous, psychopathic cyber stalker, William Lee Bradbury." And he fell for it, just like I played. Fucking guy, man. Scary, delusional, man, that he still thinks I'm William Lee Bradbury. Scary, delusional. Okay. Now, with that said, just like the intro said, upon further review, okay. Now, we all know, most of you guys know, newer viewers can check out the description will be in the link below, that all the stories that this was going on, what, almost a year and a half now. Christopher Mitchell took Lee Bradbury to court for a restraining order thinking he was me, even though we did everything to convince him that it wasn't, okay? So he still thinks, to this day, after all the convincing, he still thinks I'm William Lee Bradbury. That's how fucking delusional this retard is, okay? Scary, okay? Now, again, the link will be in the description below, or there's other videos down in my video catalog. We already covered it. So, upon Christopher Mitchell hired a private investigator, got Lee's, make a quick, long story short, really fast recap. Christopher Mitchell hired a private investigator, found Lee's Bradbury information, doxed him on YouTube video, and I saw the information. I called Lee Bradbury to try to help him out. We contacted contacted the private investigator, got the video taken down. I was in contact to try to help Lee Bradbury when he was going to court for the restraining order. We had a fallout. You guys can all see all of it. You can see all of it in the video link description below, the texts and everything. And he disrespected me, just like all the other ingrates out there. And he went on to court, okay? However, and he lost and all this other stuff, the first court, whatever the case may be. Now, just like, and you guys can see all of it unfold in the link description below. However, that link description below the video did not take into account, and what I just realized upon further review the other day, okay, upon further review, upon sifting through all the whatever, it was Todd Witteles was warned, and you guys will see in I made this video last few days ago, over the weekend, so I'm adding to it prior to the video. He was warned, and you guys will see this upon further review, and I didn't even catch it. They were warned. He was warned that I was going to do this live stream prior to Lee's court date. Okay, the infamous live stream that totally collapsed Lee's court case. Okay, but Todd knew it was going to happen. He didn't tell Lee, and the reason why I didn't tell Lee It's because me and Lee had a fallout. Okay? So you guys will all see it. You guys will all see it unfold. Pussies from America. Cyber stalker Todd Wittelis, you are exposed again for being the fraud of the poker fraud community. Okay? The lying sack of shit. Okay? Feeding your sheep all this misinformation and lies. You're exposed again, motherfucker. Okay? Woo! You even posted it. Well, we'll get into the video. You'll see it, okay? So again, everyone, enjoy this video upon further review. For all those old viewers that know the story, you guys will enjoy this upon further review of exposing the fraud Todd Wittelis and exposing the delusional Christopher Mitchell and the ingrate Lee Bradbury, okay? And you'll see again the other text that I sent Lee right before court date, still offering them that the judge can call me, okay? And I was willing to put myself out there. With that said, everyone, this was the entire interview. You'll hear my intro of this video, and then you'll hear Lee Bradbury's interview with Todd Wittelis on the Poker Fraud Radio that they did. And they're all, Kevin did a live stream and like they're shocked. And Todd was shocked that this was unfolded. Everything, okay? And then he lost the case, and then they had to did a fundraiser and all this other shit. And all you guys, the poker fraud community, you got duped by your fucking sheep herder, okay? Because he knew 4 days. Wait, actually 5. I believe 5 days before I was going to do the live stream. Okay? Enjoy, everyone.
Todd, get upstairs and take out that garbage.
Ungrateful Lee Bradbury situation, okay? And we all know about it, or went over it in a couple of details. But what you guys don't know, upon further review, okay? And that would be this. We're going to go into this email that I sent. This was to Todd Wittelis. All right, right before Lee's court date, three days before Lee's court date, okay? Because you guys all know the story, especially the pussies from America. Oh, okay. Now, it's right here. I sent a text to Todd, which he confirmed. It says, I will be doing a live stream. Okay. Notice what I'm saying. I will be doing a live stream the same time the court case is going on to prove even further it's me. Since Lee trusts you and you have his ear, you may want to warn him. Okay. Don't even think about trying to cross me going forward. This is no threat, no promise, a straightforward, blunt declaration. And Todd writes, he wants nothing to do with you or whatever. But there you go, folks. We're going to get into this. The whole warning, all right, this whole thing about, because I didn't pay attention to it or even dove into it, because I'm crossing my T's and dotting my I's now, again, as I'm being asked questions to behind the scenes to people to get them information. Okay? So again, boom, with the dynamite. This live stream, I didn't know he was going to do it and all this other stuff. There you have it. Todd also posted in his form right here. All right? At this point, I hope KD would just butt out and leave things alone and would let the case play out normally. A day later, May 29th, I got this threat from him aimed at Lee. Threat. Calls it a threat. Yeah, okay, that's how Todd claims to be able to do all this cyber harassing, because people are threatened. He doesn't know a threat from his own asshole, okay? But again, right there, he admits. Right there, shows it. I will be doing a live stream, okay? But then it gets even better. Because right here, here's a text to Lee. June 2nd, his court date was June 3rd. Make sure you download video to show judge. And if he or she needs to call me, give them this number, okay? Boom! All this, Kevin's an asshole. He ruined the case. Oh, he did a live stream. He didn't want to help Lee. Wrong. Right there. Make sure you download this video. And if they need to call me, I will still, after he told me to fuck off and all this disrespectful shit, I still was willing to help him, okay? Here's a text to Todd. Todd texted me a dumbass fucking question. Did you actually stream the court proceedings today? And I said, no, I'd never do that. Meaning I did a live stream straight from my house, thousands of miles away, okay? And then second, even in the interview, the third one Lee did on fucking Todd's fucking ambient radio show, even Lee said only people that day were allowed in the courtroom that had paperwork in court cases, okay? So again, but then right here, you can see right here, I said I did reach out to Lee yesterday and said to tell the judge I'd be available if they wanted to call me, okay? So again, this was all the set in stone, all of this right before Lee's first court case, all right? I still was willing to help. I still was willing to talk to the judge. I still was willing to confirm who owned the YouTube channel, who I was, and while I was doing it, Lee was not going to be involved, okay? But again, I warned Todd to pass it along to Lee that I was going to do a live stream the same time court happened, okay? So again, all this upon further review proves I was still willing to help Lee after he disrespected me. And the court should have been a slam dunk case. All he had to do, again, was reach out and I would have helped. 2, it proves I told Todd that I was doing the live stream to pass it on to Lee, okay? So it should have been no surprise, but yet they act like it was. So again, all this proves I am for the people. I still try to help, even when fucking certain cocksuckers disrespect me. When it affects their life, all right, and they're innocent, I will still help them, okay? So again, you fucking retards from the, you sheep fucking people, pieces of shit, from the Pussies from America Forum, there you go. In stone, everything right there, proofs in the pudding, okay? But then Todd still had the audacity and the balls to fucking try to have his viewers and his fucking people, members in his forum, donate to Lee because he had to appeal, because he was fucking a hard-headed fucking fat lump of shit retard who thought he knew it all and could handle this all on his own. And he got, boom, slammed to the curb. And he wants to claim it's because my live stream affected it. Boom! It was forewarned that I was definitely going to do it. And if he had any fucking inklings to tell the judge I was going to do the live stream. And 2, the judge could call me at any time. So again, this proves everything. And it's definitely going to prove a lot more going forward because you guys are not going to want to miss these upcoming videos about the fucking lies exposed about Todd Wattelis and his three musketeers cyber harassing and cyber terrorizing my family. And Todd's filled with lies. He should be in politics. He definitely should be in politics because he fucking spews. Half the shit he spews are lies. He believes them just like fucking all the delusional people. And his sheep believe them. And his fucking morons and the pussies from America. All of that. All right, they believe everything he says because he sounds like he's educational. But again, we're going to prove all this. Now, with that said, this video is over. If you guys want to hear the interview, the post-interview, the second appeal that Lee did, showing and him and Todd whining about the live stream that ruined the first court hearing. Oh, and everybody donate $1,500 for the appeal. That should have never even gotten that far. All right, you guys can continue to watch this video. With that note, hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned. You're definitely not going to want to miss the Upon Further Review game we're going to keep playing.
He decided that's who he thinks it is. So he already started doing some very nasty things. He hired a private investigator in Las Vegas to look into A. Hoosier A, Lee Bradbury, and then got a lot of information. And why don't you tell us, Lee, what happened after he got the information from this private investigator?
Yeah, so you can hear me fine, right?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll continue with that. I want to kind of back up a little bit and just kind of – I don't want to really rehash. You did a pretty good job at summing it up. But, back – I wasn't actually even really interested in this story. I saw the thread created back there in April. I didn't even really watch a full one of his videos.
You're talking about Kevin Davis, or which one? Kevin Davis or Christopher Mitchell, or both?
Christopher Mitchell.
Okay.
Kind of both.
Okay.
Actually, I'd watched one of Kevin Davis's videos. I hadn't watched a full one of Christopher Mitchell's videos. I'm not even really, I've never played Baccarat. I've very, very rarely play blackjack. So I wasn't even really interested in the story. But, once I heard the story, I went to one of Christopher Mitchell's videos. I looked in the comment. I have a history. One of my former careers, I was a skip tracer. So I'm, able to find people pretty easily on the internet. And I just thought, hey, I'll find a couple of people posting in his comments, send them a message on Facebook, and whatever happens, happens. Even up until I was actually contacted by Kevin Davis, I had actually never watched a Christopher Mitchell video. I commented in the thread a couple of times prior to all that. But, yeah, so anyway, then Kevin Davis back on May 17th. So I messaged Bob Hesley on May 6th, and then more than a week later on May 17th is when I was actually just sitting at my computer at home, and I get a call from a number that I didn't recognize, answered it, and it happened to be Kevin Davis. And, he told me about the doxing video. Christopher Mitchell made a video where he had posted a lot of information. He posted the front page of the comprehensive report, which showed my name, date of birth, social security number, other different private information as well.
Yeah, that's really bad. Yeah.
And so, that was actually my first time ever, in contact with Kevin Davis. During that point in time, I contacted the private investigator myself, and I spoke with him. I was kind of shocked. Being a previous skip tracer, there was a lot of rules and regulations that I had to follow to protect, people's private information. And so I contacted him to find out, kind of his part of the story. He told me that that Christopher Mitchell had contacted him and said that he was at the police station to file a report against me, and that he needed more information to give to the police. So the private investigator ran that comprehensive report and just gave all the information to Christopher Mitchell.
Yeah, which of course is stupid, and that was a huge mistake on the private investigator's part, because if Christopher Mitchell, I don't even believe, was telling the truth, but whether he was or not, even if he was down there to file a frivolous police report, because you hadn't committed any crime, it's insane. You can go to Bob Hesley all you want; that's your free speech rights to do. But even if the PI thought he was doing this to assist someone to bring it to the police, all he has to do is say, "Okay, have the police officer call me, and I'll give him this information." That's
Well, I even went to the cops, and when I talked to the cops, they were like, we wouldn't have a private investigator get your information. We could look it up ourselves.
Right, that too, yeah.
and actually, I know that Christopher Mitchell lied to the private investigator, because I have Christopher Mitchell's actual police report. And so on the doxing video, it shows that the DeBecker Investigations, the private investigator that he hired, the comprehensive report shows the date of May 19th, 2020 on it. And the police report that I'm looking at, he didn't actually file the police report until over a week later.
Oh, okay, so he wasn't down at the station. Yeah, that was a big lie.
Yeah, May 18th is when this was dated. So yeah, he lied to the private investigator, I assume, unless the private investigator's lying. But when I spoke with the private investigator, and I mentioned the name Kevin Davis, he had no idea who Kevin Davis was. He said that Christopher Mitchell never mentioned the name Kevin Davis to him at all. So the fact that there's some other claims that Christopher Mitchell made in his video, he claimed that if you want to go back to something that you said is, if you listen to my voice and you listen to Kevin Davis's voice, they're two totally different voices. One of the claims that he made in the doxing video is that his private investigator ran a voice analysis test.
I saw that.
And claimed that my voice and Kevin Davis's voice was one and the same, just using something to alter the voice.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And by the way, I've met A. Hoosier A, and he has the same voice on the phone here as he did in person when I met him. So there's no voice alteration. I can guarantee you there's no voice altering going on here. And that the voice you hear now is the same voice I heard in person when I've met with A. Hoosier A in Las Vegas. So, so that there was a lot of BS there. So,
now, well, one thing, and we'll kind of move forward with this. I'm going to try not to ramble too much and try to stay on topic, but as we move further into the story, if that was the truth, if he had a private investigator run a voice analysis test, which I'm not even sure is possible, maybe it is, but that would be a pretty good thing to take to court, right? So fast forward, I received a call from Kevin Davis on May 17th. I was served papers. I don't know the exact date. I was served papers by the Clark County Sheriff, I believe.
Probably.
Sometime in the beginning of June, I believe.
Okay, so let's stop here. So he actually was served papers for a restraining order from Christopher Mitchell, and this is how outrageous this is. The restraining order was based upon the belief that he was being stalked by Lee Bradbury, A. Hoosier A., because Lee Bradbury is Kevin Davis. I mean, come on. So there was actually a restraining order filed against him. So you usually think this should be a slam dunk in court because the burden of proof is on Christopher Mitchell for this. Even restraining orders, which are not there's not major investigations done with these. Sometimes they're granted fairly easily depending on the judge, but still, the burden of proof. You can't just say such and such random person is some anonymous guy who's harassing me on the internet. I know it. I'm getting restraining order. You can't just come into court and go, yeah, I know it's him. So give a restraining order. Judges won't do that. You have the burden of proof is on the one filing the restraining order that an anonymous character on the internet is the person you're accusing. So when I heard this, I go, okay, he's going to get clobbered in court, and this has no chance of succeeding because any sane judge is going to say, okay, so this person saying their name is Kevin Davis, the judge may even notice the voices are different, and of course A. Hoosier A. would say that in court. So he would ask Christopher Mitchell, where's the proof that they're the same person? Christopher Mitchell, being the dummy he is, wouldn't have such proof, or whatever, quote, proof he'd have would be laughable because it wouldn't be true and it wouldn't be anything that was conclusive and it would be laughed out of court. I was sure that was the way it was going to go. And so I assume you thought that too, Lee. And so did you hire an attorney to represent you in court for this, or did you just go at it alone because it was such a laughable case?
Yeah, so actually back when I found out that he had doxed me, I had actually immediately called several different attorneys and basically got the runaround from every single attorney that I spoke with about how I really didn't have a case against them because doxing is not technically illegal, and even giving out somebody's social security number, unless that I could prove that my social security number was used fraudulently, there's really not any kind of case. There's no defamation, slander, libel case that I can really hold against them, that it would be extremely difficult and extremely expensive to try to go into court because there wasn't any kind of financial damages.
Yeah.
So I immediately went to the Las Vegas police station. I went to a couple of different departments trying to file a report against Christopher Mitchell. Basically, I was told that since I live technically in Henderson, that I would have to file in Henderson. And I'll be honest, just kind of after talking to 3 or 4 different attorneys, plus a couple of people that are attorneys that I know that necessarily aren't in Nevada, but they're pretty familiar with just general law. And after speaking with a couple of cops that I had spoken with, I kind of was just a little down about not being able to do anything about it.
Right, and you're just to clarify for the listeners, there's 2 different things going on here. Had you gotten there's a restraining order matter, and there's also the matter that Lee wanted to do something to Christopher for publishing all his info, including his social security number, based upon this false accusation that Lee was Kevin Davis. So Lee expressing the frustration that there wasn't much he could do criminally or civilly about what Christopher had done, which I agree is very frustrating. But had you, when you went to the police station about this, and you went to when you went to do this stuff yourself, had the restraining order been filed against you yet, or did that come after?
That came after.
Okay.
So I didn't know anything about the restraining order at that point in time. I had tried to find if he had filed a police report against me. The cops that I spoke with said that unless I had kind of a report number or something like that, they couldn't really tell me anything. But at that point in time, he had filed the police report the same day that I was going to the cops, because Kevin Davis had contacted me on, again, May 17th. I actually wasn't able to go and speak to the cops or anything like that until the following day, which is the same day that Christopher Mitchell actually filed that report. So nothing was able to be done. Nothing got done on my end on May 18th. And again, I actually didn't get served by the sheriff's department until either a couple of weeks later, or it might have been the first week of June.
Okay, and let me ask you again, by the first week of June when you got served with a restraining order, was there any police report that you had filed, or you just decided not to bother?
I didn't file my police report. I finally went to the Henderson Police Department and filed my report the day that I got served. And even at that point in time, they were very hesitant to take a report, saying basically there wasn't any kind of law broken or anything like that.
Right.
So finally I just told him hey, this guy is making some subtle threats saying, he's going to knock me out if he sees me, or, inviting me to his house to fight him, meet him outside and stuff like that. So I said, look, I'm going to court with this guy. I just want something on file stating that I have went to the cops in regards to this. So basically the cop just was like, okay, whatever, here's the report form, wrote up a report, and, he didn't want to do the paperwork on it.
Yeah, well, I will say this. I believe that those lawyers were correct. I think that while it's crappy what he did, and I wish there was something that could be done, because there should be some sort of law about publishing somebody's social security number maliciously, which he did. And not even for a good reason. It's not even like he published it because he felt you were a scammer or something. He was publishing it to get back at you. He was very clear about that when he did it in his video. So I would love to see some sort of criminal law for publishing someone's social security number, given what can be done with it, given that you shouldn't have to wait till someone takes it and victimizes you with it. It should be that publishing someone's social security number on the internet for purposes of harassment, there should be some sort of law, or at the very least some sort of civil remedy for it if they don't want to make criminal law about it. But I believe there probably isn't in Nevada, and they're probably correct that as crappy as it is, there probably wasn't much you could do. I understand why you eventually went down there. I was actually of the belief, and I told you this at the time, that I didn't think that there would be much you could do yourself about this. But when I heard about the restraining order, I said, this is absolutely outrageous. So okay, let's get back to the restraining order here. So you chose not to get an attorney, correct?
Yeah. So once I got served, a couple of things that I'd done right away is I actually contacted you. At the time, I was still on some speaking terms with Kevin Davis, and I had contacted him saying, hey, I was actually excited that I got served because, again, previously no attorney would take my case in regards to the defamation. And so finally I felt like, even though I know that going to court about one thing is the judge doesn't really want to hear about anything else. The way I kind of saw it was, well, at least I get a day in court where I can say that this guy is basically harassing me and doxing me and putting my private information out there. And, to this day, I've actually never contacted Christopher Mitchell myself in any form.
That's true.
I've never tried to email him. I've never texted him. I've never saw him in person other than inside the courtroom. I've never, up until that point and still to this day, I've never contacted or attempted to contact Christopher Mitchell. So I figured, and other than the couple of times that I've spoke with Kevin Davis, after Christopher Mitchell had doxed me, there was nothing tying me to Kevin Davis. There was nothing tying me to contacting Christopher Mitchell. I had this proof that Christopher Mitchell had doxed me. And so I felt like, I had a slam dunk case in the courtroom. I had spoke with a couple of different attorneys. I got a price of approximately $2,000 for an attorney to represent me in court. I'm not super, super poor, but I'm also not rich, and $2,000 to defend a frivolous restraining order is a lot of money to me.
Right, and this is worse than a frivolous restraining order. I've known people who have been hit with frivolous restraining orders where the restraining order is aimed at the right person, but it's frivolous details where people are. I've seen it where someone's ex-girlfriend files it against them because they claim that the guy's stalking her when in reality that's not what he's doing. That she's just doing it to get back at him. Or I've seen it between guys before where one does it to the other. I've seen more than one of these of friends I've had who have been hit with very frivolous restraining order cases that were just really a matter of revenge. And those are bad enough. This one is much worse than that because this is a restraining order based upon you being someone that you are not. And that I've never seen before. I've never seen a restraining order where the whole basis of the restraining order is you are such and such anonymous person on the internet when that person actually is not. So that's why this one was beyond frivolous. It was even aimed at the wrong person. So I understand, and in fact, had I been in your shoes, I would also not have shown up in court with an attorney because if there's ever a case where you think I can handle this myself, and he didn't have an attorney, so you didn't have to worry about going against an attorney. It's you versus dumb Christopher Mitchell, who's making a wild accusation of that you being some character on the internet from another state, Kevin Davis. I would not be the slightest bit worried that I would lose this in court.
And I was fully aware that, with him making the allegations against me, that he has the burden of proof to prove that I'm Kevin Davis and to prove that I run the YouTube Scam Exposure site and to prove that I'm harassing and stalking him.
Right.
And so, and I knew that there was zero proof of any of that. So I felt extremely comfortable going into court. I'm not a lawyer, but I'm also not super dumb when it comes to that kind of stuff. And again, if it was something that was aimed at me, from like a girl or like an ex or something like that, saying that I did something, then I would have got an attorney because I've had contact with that person. I have a history with that person, and anything could happen in court. But, I don't have a history with Christopher Mitchell. There was nothing that he could show where I had personally contacted him or anything like that. And so I felt super comfortable in the court, and so I decided to go without an attorney. I did contact you to be kind of a witness if they would call you.
Right.
And again, I'd contacted Kevin Davis and told him about, again, that I was excited to be able to take Christopher Mitchell into court and kind of get somebody to see how big of an idiot this guy was. Well, and where Kevin Davis and I's fallout happened is, so when I told Kevin Davis this information, like he immediately wanted me to send him over the police report and the court document, basically the court filing that Christopher Mitchell had made. Now, again, with me not being Kevin Davis and never, not having much contact with Kevin Davis, I know that Kevin Davis likes to make videos about stuff, and my fear was that, I would give this information to Kevin Davis, and Kevin Davis would make a video about it, and then that would make my case in court even harder because if I'm not Kevin Davis, then how would Kevin Davis have all these documents
Right.
if I wasn't him.
Right. And just to explain to the listener who may not be familiar with this, in a long case that's in superior court where you can go through discovery processes, then that can all be fleshed out, and you can show that I gave this to Kevin Davis, then he put it up there, and there's a whole lot that can be done to show that you're not the same person. But with restraining order cases, it's kind of like small claims where the judge just hears things and makes a snap decision. So you were correct to not want to do anything that was going to give the wrong idea. So while there's nothing wrong with you giving Kevin Davis a copy of court documents and Kevin Davis publishing that's all legal. You can do it. It's fine. That's within your rights. Unfortunately, it could look bad if you did it because, as you said, they may think, well, he's accusing him of being Kevin Davis, and yet, sure enough, Kevin Davis has what was served on him. So how did that happen? The judge may start to believe the wrong thing. So A. Hoosier A. was correctly cautious. Anyway, Kevin Davis still really wanted to be part of this in some way, and in his defense, I will say that Kevin Davis is actually trying to do something helpful, kind of by injecting himself into it. He was trying to help A. Hoosier Hay not lose, and unfortunately, it backfired and made him lose. So the intention was good, the result was bad, and I blame the judge for this, not Kevin. Actually, Kevin, I don't even blame for this. Tell us what happened in court. Tell us from the start to finish with that day's hearing, where Christopher showed up, you showed up. Tell us how this hearing went.
Yeah, so, again, me and Kevin Davis's downfall was basically he got upset that I wouldn't give him the court documents. We cut ties from there, and I've not had any more contact with Kevin Davis since then. So, anyway, I show up to court, and I'm sitting there. There was 2 restraining order cases that the judge had to hear that morning. And so I show up, and I'm the only one there. Christopher Mitchell is not in court. He's not in the hallway or anything like that. I get brought into the courtroom. The judge decides, since that both parties on my case isn't there and that both parties are there in the other restraining order case, that he would hear them first. And I would say that their case took about 10 to 15 minutes for the judge to hear. And what's actually very interesting in that case is it was 2 ladies that had one was a mistress, one was the wife of the husband that was cheating on her, and they basically went back and forth in court. The lady showed proof that this other lady was going to her job and stalking her and calling her names and all that stuff. And the judge just basically told them, like, hey, look, knock it off, guys. I'm not issuing a restraining order. You guys just need to stay away from each other, but none of this is enough proof for me to issue a restraining order.
Wow.
So the judge
I didn't know that part. Yeah, I didn't know that part of the story. That part's new to me. I did not know that you had the case before you where the judge was kind of a hard ass about giving the restraining order, even though one might have been justified there. Wow. I did not know that.
At this point in time, Christopher Mitchell still actually isn't in the courtroom. And I even made mention to the marshal that was there in the court. He asked me if I, had any kind of contact with Christopher Mitchell to see if he was coming. And I said, honestly, I've never talked to him in my life. I said, but my guess is he's not coming. I didn't really get into too much details, but my guess is the whole police report thing and serving me was just kind of to scare me, and that he wasn't actually going to show up to court. So the judge actually brings me up, and he's I'm standing in front of the judge, and he basically says, well, with the other party not here, there's nothing I can really do. I'm going to close this, blah, blah, blah. And then at that point in time, the marshal comes in, he's like, hold on, Your Honor, he's here. And so Christopher Mitchell walks into the courtroom. He's wearing sweatpants and a sweatshirt. He's more than 15 minutes late from the time that we're scheduled at court. And he comes in, he has no attorney. He has no paperwork or anything like that with him. And so basically the judge at that point in time hears the case. The judge is talking to him. He's telling the judge that, I run this channel, that I'm stalking him, that I've taken video of his house, that I follow him around to different casinos, including to the casino in California.
Let me stop for a second here. The thing in California is referring to is that when Christopher visited Siquan Casino in the San Diego area and didn't do very well and lost, somehow Kevin Davis had either a friend or a viewer of his channel. Somehow someone was there who recognized Christopher Mitchell and took video of him losing and then gave it to Kevin, who then put it on a video. And Christopher was furious about this. And in fact, that's one of the few videos Christopher made saying that he lost because it was already on video that he knew Kevin's guy had recorded him. At one point, Christopher caught it and yelled about it and demanded that the casino stop the person from recording, which the casino did. But he knew the video was going to be sent to Kevin, and he knew it was going to be up there. So Christopher was furious about this. So he was remember, still believing that Lee is Kevin Davis. He was claiming that California thing, that's what he was talking about. Anyway, go on.
Yeah, so anyway, the judge, goes back and forth with Christopher Mitchell for a few minutes, and then the judge comes to me and asks for my side of the story. I explained to him that, I had never contacted Christopher Mitchell. I kind of explained the story that, he had doxed me and, he had put my personal information out there. The judge basically responded to Christopher saying, so you're doing exactly to him what you're claiming that he's doing to you. Unfortunately, if he's making videos about you, I can't, go against the First Amendment and silence him. He has the freedom of speech. But if he's following you around to different casinos, that's another thing. And he asked Christopher Mitchell if he had any kind of proof of it. And, Christopher Mitchell tried to claim that the video of him there was proof that it was on the YouTube Scammer Exposed channel. The judge basically said, well, that's not actually proof that anybody could be him or anybody could be running that channel. So again, the judge asked Christopher Mitchell if he had indeed doxed me and posted my social security number online. And Christopher Mitchell said that he had not. And I responded to the judge that I actually had proof, and I had a flash drive with me, and I also had taken some short video clips of the doxing video on my phone just in case the judge wouldn't take a look at the flash drive. And so the judge asked to see, the short clips on my phone, and he had asked Christopher Mitchell, he goes, I'm going to ask you one more time, am I going to see his social security number on these videos? And then at that point in time, Christopher Mitchell switched up his story and said, well, it may be. And so at that point in time, he had lied to the judge. The judge was completely frustrated with him. The judge took my phone, had my phone in his hand, and looked at the video, was disgusted at what he had saw, and started ripping into Christopher Mitchell. At that point in time, the judge had, handed the marshal my phone. The marshal had handed my phone back to me, and I'd set my phone on the desk there in front of me. And so the judge is actually ripping Christopher Mitchell at this point in time about, doxing me and filing this lawsuit with no proof and all this stuff. At this point in time, him and Christopher Mitchell actually get into a verbal altercation where Christopher Mitchell is actually yelling at the judge.
Yeah.
And the marshal comes in and he's like, you need to stop yelling at the judge. And Christopher Mitchell actually asked the marshal, what are you going to do about it?
Wow.
And he gets extremely cocky with the marshal, and the marshal is, telling him that he's going to, so the judge actually tells him that he may need to spend some time in county jail to cool off. Now, this is where it's all kind of a blur, because as all this is going on, at the same time, one of the judge's clerks who was, I don't exactly know who she is or what her title is, but, you have the judge, you have the person that types the written report of the court proceedings, and then the judge also had two other females that were sitting kind of off to the side of him, off to the bench.
Before you continue, hang on, I want to just review this for the listener. So, you guys, listen to this story. Can you imagine any scenario where Lee loses this restraining order case? Because look at this. You have the judge who's not buying that Lee is Kevin, that he's telling Christopher correctly there's no proof. There's nothing that shows that's the same person. He's annoyed with him for even bringing the case into his courtroom. It feels like it's wasting the court's time. And then Christopher starts acting like a jerk and actually arguing with him to the point where he's threatening to put him in county jail. And he's not just making idle threats. He's actually very close to really putting him in county jail for contempt of court. And this is where there's no jury here. This is where the judge decides for himself whether to grant this. And keep in mind the case right before this was a very standard run-of-the-mill case where one person was alleging stalking against the other, where there was some real evidence of stalking, and yet the judge still wouldn't issue it. So what was the chance at that point, right where we are in the story right here, what was the chance at that point that Christopher Mitchell was going to win this? I would say 1 in thousands. I mean, talk about he had every strike against him possible. So how could this have possibly turned around to where Christopher won this? Well, listen to this. Go on and tell him what happened.
Yeah, so as all this is, transpiring, I'm kind of just standing off almost in disbelief that this guy's actually acting like this in the courtroom. And, at this point in time, I see the clerk or whatever she is go to the judge. And of course, I don't know what she's doing at the time. Now, keep in mind that my phone is still on the desk and has not moved since the marshals brought it back to me. And she's showing the judge something on her phone. I can tell by the judge's facial expressions that he's not exactly happy with it. And so at that point in time, the judge kind of, calms everything down in the court. And he's like, okay, somebody is recording the audio in the courtroom. At that point in time, I'm kind of just not really understanding what's going on. And at that point in time, the judge said, somebody is audio recording this courtroom. It's on YouTube, and it's on the YouTube Scam Exposers channel. And immediately Christopher Mitchell's like, that's him, that's his channel. And the judge looks at me and he goes, are you audio recording my courtroom? And I said, no, Your Honor, I'm not. I said, I have nothing on me. My phone is right here. You can take a look at my phone. The marshal actually, I handed the phone to the marshal. My phone was locked. And the marshal didn't actually ask me to unlock it or anything like that. But, he kind of takes a look at it. And so the judge was like, okay, so explain to me. He's like, so Christopher Mitchell is accusing you of being YouTube Scam Exposers. At that point in time, the judge said, and I heard audio of this courtroom being played on YouTube Scam Exposers, and you're the one being accused of being YouTube Scam Exposers. He said, so explain to me, like I'm 7 years old, how there could be audio recording of this courtroom on this channel if you're not recording me and you're not YouTube Scammer Exposed. And at this point in time, I was actually speechless. I said, Your Honor, I have no idea. Now, at this point in time, the marshal brings up that I brought somebody with me. My wife had actually came to court with me, except she wasn't allowed in the courtroom because of the COVID-19 restrictions. They were only letting people that had a case in the courtroom. And so she was actually sitting out in the hallway. And so at that point in time, the judge was like, well, maybe she's like the way that the courtroom was set up is you have the hallway and then you have doors that go into like a little hallway, maybe like a 10 to 12 foot hallway, and then a second set of doors that opens up into the courtroom. And so at that point in time, they speculated that maybe my wife had snuck into the middle little hallway there and somehow had caught a portion of the video. At that point in time, the judge had claimed, well, unfortunately, I can't play it back. The video's been deleted. Now, of course, I had no idea what was going on at this time. I was still basically in shock. I didn't know what the judge had heard because the way that she had played it, she didn't have the volume up or anything like that. And I was standing a good 30 feet from the judge or so. And so anyway, the judge's mood completely flipped once he found, once he thought that I was recording the audio of the courtroom. He told me, that he's not going to be disrespected and lied to in his courtroom. I tried to speak up, and he literally told me to stop talking, that he wasn't going to allow me to speak anymore because I'm a liar, and that at that point in time, he was going to issue the restraining order against me for Christopher Mitchell. And at that point in time, I was in complete disbelief, completely speechless.
Yeah, that's an incredible story. And so let me tell you what Kevin Davis really put up there. You're probably wondering now, what was really on that channel? What did they listen to? Was somehow the courtroom being recorded by Kevin Davis or somebody associated with him? And what was going on there? Well, when I heard this story, I I got a call from Lee telling me what happened, and he actually woke me up with a phone call. But right after I got off the call, I went directly to YouTube scam exposures to see what was there. Well, there was a video, but it was not deleted. It was a video of just Kevin Davis talking, which was the timestamp on it was during the court proceedings, but it was not anything in the courtroom. It was Kevin Davis saying, okay, so I'm recording this as Lee Bradbury is in court, and as you can see, there's no way that this could be recorded while he's there in court if I were him. So again, this is me, Kevin Davis, recording this while Lee Bradbury is in court. This should be proof that I am not the same person. So Kevin Davis was actually trying to help there, and he was actually trying to make it clear that how could I be recording this video on my own when you can see that that Lee is in court and isn't making this? He was trying to show that, but somehow, and we don't know why, somehow this court clerk went over to the YouTube Scam Exposures channel to kind of take a look at it, saw something about the court case that day, played it, and for whatever reason they got confused that Kevin Davis saying, hey, this is proof that I'm not him, the court's going on right now, somehow this confused them into believing they were listening to audio in the courtroom. I don't know how it happened, but that's, yeah.
So I actually have a little bit of a guess on how this happened. So first of all, for the viewers that may be interested of how Kevin Davis got the information of when I was going to be in court. So when I was excited about my court date, and I was speaking with Todd and I was speaking with Kevin Davis about the court date, I did say the date and time that I was going to be in court. I just didn't share the documents with Kevin Davis, but he was made aware of the date and time that I was going to be there. And so, he made that video he actually made the video about 25 minutes after I was scheduled to be in court. If I would have been the first hearing that day, if Christopher Mitchell would have showed up on time and the judge would have heard our story first, then that video would have been made probably 10 to 15 minutes after I was already out of the courtroom, and it wouldn't have mattered. But my guess is, knowing kind of how YouTube works with live videos, is so when a YouTube channel goes live, it'll have the video on the channel, and it will have a little red thing that says live.
Oh yeah.
And then when that person that is doing the live video ends the video, the video does disappear for a short time, because then YouTube takes that live video and then uploads it to your channel, and there's a delay in between that. So Kevin Davis's video was only like 3.5 to 4 minutes long, saying, hey, I'm not Lee Bradbury. How could I be Lee Bradbury talking on the audio channel right now, on the YouTube channel right now, if he's in court? And so what I think is that the clerk saw because the title of the video was Christopher Mitchell and Lee Bradbury in court right now. And I think that the clerk saw that video title, saw that it said live, and took it over to the judge, and the judge caught the very, very tail end of the quote-unquote live video, and then Kevin Davis ended the video, which therefore made the video disappear.
And then he couldn't replay it. Wow, okay. That's a very good theory. He's correct. By the way, I don't know, you guys, if you have played live videos on YouTube or seen, I'm sure you guys have seen like a channel post a live video, and then you're a little bit too late to get there, and then you try to play it, and it just says video deleted. And then it does reappear a little bit later once it shows in archive format. So some in that period in between, that probably is what happened. And yeah, it's a really unfortunate timing, and really unfortunate that they got confused and that they thought they heard the courtroom when really they just really were listening to Kevin Davis, but somehow, I guess, seeing that title live in courtroom. And it was up, it's gone now, but it was up for several hours before Kevin Davis deleted it, and you could have heard what that video was, and some of you did. In case you guys think I might be making this up, I heard it personally myself, and it was just Kevin talking. There was no audio of the courtroom. It was just Kevin talking to himself for 3.5 minutes, saying, hey, how could I be Lee Bradbury if he's in court right now? He's basically saying various forms of that for 3.5, 4 minutes. I personally heard it, and then Kevin deleted it later. Now, I also want to point something else out. Even if there was secret audio of the courtroom, which there was not, but let's say there was, that does not prove anything. Because it could be anybody. It could be Kevin Davis had one of his friends go down there and secretly record it. Lee can't control that. Once Lee has told him of the court case, or Kevin could have looked this up on the calendar. He wouldn't even need Lee to tell him, but it's also Lee's right to tell him when it is. Kevin could have, out of interest in the story, brought someone down there to record the courtroom. Also, another problem is this does not prove any kind of stalking. And this does not even prove that he's YouTube scam exposers. In fact, what if, even if he knew Kevin Davis, and even if Kevin Davis was secretly down there himself recording it, this doesn't make it that he's Kevin Davis. It just, at the very worst, it means that either Kevin got someone down there or they're in cooperation in some way. It does not mean that he's stalking Christopher Mitchell. Just being friends with someone who is making videos about Christopher Mitchell, even friends with someone who's stalking Christopher Mitchell, doesn't mean that he is. And, furthermore, the thing the judge was mad about was what he considered contempt of court, that he was recording the courtroom without permission. And notice there was never any kind of contempt of court charge or even threatened against Lee here, that he just decided that because he was mad that he thought his courtroom was being recorded, that to punish Lee, he's going to grant the restraining order, assuming that this means he's YouTube scam exposers, which is a gigantic leap. I mean, a court case that's publicly posted of when it's going to be, and you're saying that a guy who frequently makes videos about Christopher Mitchell couldn't be down there doing it. That's what's so absurd. How does he know that Kevin Davis is not down there or does not have someone down there for him recording the audio, even if it was happening? So even if that was happening, that does not mean that the judge would have to know that it's actually Lee doing it, not just that it's happening, and the judge can't just guess at that. So that's insane. The whole thing was insane. It was a judge who felt insulted that he thought he was being lied to and that his courtroom was being secretly recorded. He thought he was being made a fool of, and he decided to punish Lee here and grant the restraining order. And then he wouldn't let him speak further. So a complete miscarriage of justice. You simply do not grant a restraining order unless you see real proof that person is being stalked. Not even just that you think they own a channel which criticizes that person, but that you actually see proof it's them and that you carefully consider, okay, does this really mean it's them? Does the audio of the recording of the courtroom, which wasn't even happening, but if it was, does that mean that's him, or does that mean there might be a third party involved just doing this on their own, which it easily could have been, even if it were really happening. So a terrible decision. And very bad luck. As
you said, even if I was, that's that's a contempt of court, contempt of court charge, not a you're stalking. That's proof that you're stalking him charge.
Yeah.
So,
and also it could mean that it could have meant you were recording it and sending it to Kevin Davis, who was putting it live, which again maybe they could consider contempt of court. That has nothing to do with stalking Christopher Mitchell. It could have been, hey, this is up there because we want to show how stupid Christopher Mitchell is. That doesn't mean I'm stalking him. But just here's the audio of the frivolous case he's putting up there. And so again, the court can attack this from a contempt standpoint. This does not affect the stalking accusation at all. It was an absolutely insane decision. I'm sure the attorneys listening to this are just shaking their heads going, oh my God, I can't believe a judge in the Las Vegas court did this, but he did. So then, unfortunately, Lee had a very bad situation in that he had a restraining order on his record at that point, which you may say, if you don't know much about it, you may say, well, no big deal. He's never contacted Christopher anyway, so just don't contact him. And after 3 years, it'll expire, and there will be no consequence unless he actually does contact Christopher Mitchell. Well, there's two reasons why you don't want this. Number one, they both live in Las Vegas. They both go to casinos. He would not want it where he goes to a casino and Christopher Mitchell happens to be there and sees him, and then calls the police, and somehow the police are convinced that it's a stalking and arrest him. You don't want that there. You don't want a restraining order on you. And especially in a place like Las Vegas where a lot of people go to the same places like casinos, and when it's frivolous. You just never want that. Number two, the bigger reason, is that it can affect employment. And Lee is not a professional poker player. He is someone who does hold regular jobs. He is someone who sometimes switches jobs and wants to apply for a new job, and these can come up in background checks. And this can really affect the ability to be employed because they're thinking of hiring you. They do a background check. They find a restraining order. They go, I don't want to take a chance on this guy. That shows he's unstable. There's something wrong with him. Shows he's probably stalkerish. Maybe he's going to give us trouble. Maybe he'll be dangerous if we ever have to fire him. You know what? Let's just pass on him and take somebody else who doesn't have this baggage. And that can be a huge detriment to you when you're attempting to get a job. It's not as big of a deal if you're never going to go work for somebody else, but if you are going to work for somebody else, then that's